He basically recommended Dr. Rodriguez, who did face transplants before, and he was looking to do a face and double hand transplant. So like he took pictures and videos of me and sent it to him. And then like maybe a couple weeks later, Dr. Rodriguez reached out to me and told me to come into the city. And we and him talked. I liked him a lot. He's a very humble guy, straight to the point. Basically said there's two before me. One passed away on the table, and the second one, the hands failed. And there's a chance you can die too.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I have beautiful guests today with us. I have Jessica and Joe, all the way from New Jersey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I think you're signing us on.
Yeah, of course. Well, guys, I want to jump right into it. I was scrolling Instagram far too often, like I do. And Joe, I came across your Instagram profile and I was so inspired. Went to your website, started reading, and I would love you if you could walk us through the story and your experience of, I think, being the first successful recipient of double hand and face transplant. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Incredible. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So one day I was just golfing with my dad. It was on a Saturday. And I had that day off. And I was just golfing with him normally. And I got a phone call from my job. And they said, you want to do overtime? And I just turned 20. So I was like, yeah, I'll do overtime, to buy like more modifications for my car. Stuff like that, because I'm a car guy. So I got home. It took my 5 hours before I was asleep, which at that time I thought was normal, but you need more sleep than that. I figured out, and clocked in, do my normal shift. I was a food tester for like magnesium, potassium, stuff like that, and then just driving home, it's a 10-minute drive to my apartment, and my body just conked out, fell asleep at the wheel, and my car crashed, car on fire. And I woke up 3.5 months later from a coma with 80% burns in my body.
Joe, when you say you were at your shift and you passed out, do you remember any of that experience, or was it just waking up 3.5 months later in the hospital?
I remember nothing of the accident. I just go off of what the police said and police reports. There is a video of it, but the police have it, but they won't give it to me. But I've asked to see the video because I just want to see my car flip, and stuff like that. It'd be pretty interesting to see that. So I'm not like a dramatic kind of guy, emotional kind of guy. So I think I just want to see my car crash, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard other people go through this experience where they'll get vague memories or they'll have moments of clarity in which they'll have a picture or a vision. And, I looked at some of the pictures you had posted on your website, and your body and the amount of burns on your body are incredible. So was the coma medically induced, or was that just how long you were out for?
It was medically induced, so they can do all the skin grafts and like blood infusion, stuff like that.
Yeah. And what happened when you woke up? What was your state of mind, your state of being?
When I woke up, my mom was there because my dad was home taking care of the dogs. So it was just my mom. The first thing I asked her was how are the rims in my car, because I knew something happened, but I didn't know like the severity of it. So I just asked her how are my rims, and she was like, Joe, they're not good no more. And then a bunch of nurses come rushing in to do all their like nursing stuff, vitals, heart rate, stuff like that, all the nursing stuff. So like they bum rushed me, did their job, and that was kind of overwhelming, having like 4 or 5 nurses around you, touching you, trying to figure out, their vitals, all that nursing stuff, and waking up from the coma, you're still droopy from all like the pain meds, all that stuff. So I'm just like on like all days, and like just a bunch of people, and then on top of that, when you're in the burn unit, they're in like gowns, scrub caps, a mask on for an infection. So it kind of feels like a hospital movie, like that movie Hospital, where all
Yeah.
you see is the eyes and like people just touching you and you don't know nothing. So it's kind of like a weird experience.
Yeah. And how long was your hospital stay? After the 3 months, you've awoken, you have an awareness of what's going on. How long were you in the hospital?
For the burning at 4 months because like after the 3.5 months, I woke up and then half the month was just physical therapy and occupational therapy, just so I can get back to walking again and like stretching my hands out, getting the swelling down.
Yeah. Did you have any nurses or occupational therapists that you absolutely loved that like were one of your favorites?
But yeah, the nurses, a couple nurses, were my favorites. Like her, Rebecca was my favorite nurse. A couple, I forget a lot of their names
Yeah.
because like
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
on like a lot of like medication, so everything is just like a kind of like a haze. And my mom has to remind me of the names. But like the PTs and OTs, the PT is Laura and the OT is Stephanie because they're around me the most. And then like all you do is just all I did though is just joke around, like have fun because that's like the best medicine. It's just to joke around, have fun because I didn't want to be sad and like upset about the situation. I want to be like joyful, even though down the dumps, deep down, but still want to be joyful, have a good mindset.
Yeah. Beautiful. I know that I had a couple nurses that, like you said, and when I was in the hospital for a big chunk of time, there was definitely people there was like one nurse who would draw my blood and it never hurt. And he could do it in the dark. And I was like, this guy is like a godsend. Because as you know, there people are waking you up all times of the night to like do vitals and do blood work. And there was another nurse who was like always, every time they would like, Freddie, you got to get up and walk. And they'd be like cheering me on, like going around the hospital. And I definitely have those touchstones. And they were definitely like, at the time it was an angel, and this like not great experience, definitely not the place you want to be. But there were lots of times I saw beautiful aspects of humanity in the hospital. I don't know if you had any experience similar to that.
Yeah, like with the burn unit, it's a very small unit, so all the nurses, and like all of them have their perks.
Yeah.
It's just hard to remember their names because they're all covered up. So all you like, all you go by is like their figure,
Yes.
and so like that's all you really can go by. And like, but like they were all like super nice. My parents always brought them food, so they would spoil me. Always took care of me very nicely. Like there is not like one bad nurse on the burn unit for me.
Amazing. Amazing. And then, so you're in the hospital, you're in the burning unit for 4 months. And then were you given a prognosis, or did your medical team say, Joe, listen, this is what we want to do for you? Or did they give you an expectation on what quality of life will look like? I'd be really interested to hear like your understanding of that prognosis, or Jessica too, if you want to chime in at any time.
They didn't give me nothing like no good information, like no like future information in the burn unit. They just said like just keep up on your like workouts with your walking because I wasn't able to walk after the coma, and so just keep up on the walking and strengthening all your muscles. The OT like she tried to give me hope, but at the end of the day my fingers are amputated off, so like there's really no hope. But she tried to give me hope, all that like motivation. But like once I got to the burn rehab, they were like, you can't really do much on your own anymore. You have to have someone help you, be by you all the time to like just everything, do everything basically. And that was my mom's like that's when my mom stepped in, did everything again, like I was a little kid, which is not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Joe at that time, but according to his parents, he wasn't supposed to survive that first night. They were transfusing him with lots of blood and blood products and say like saline just to keep him hydrated, but they really didn't expect him to survive that first night, is what they told me. So it was pretty, I wasn't there. I didn't know Joe, but I know his parents were pretty traumatized from the whole experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine. When did the conversation around being applicable or open to a double hand transplant and the face transplant start? Like, where did that happen in the timeline of your healing?
So like maybe like 2 or 3 months after my burn rehab, I moved back into my parents' house, and I went to a Jersey plastic surgeon, and he basically said, "There's nothing more I can do for you," because he
Mm-hmm.
did my lips and my eyes to like open them up, and then my eyes to protect them from not going blind.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically recommended Dr. Rodriguez, who did face transplants before, and he was looking to do a face and double hand transplant. So like he took pictures and videos of me and sent it to him. And then like maybe a couple weeks later, Dr. Rodriguez reached out to me and told me to come into the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we and him talked. I liked him a lot. He's a very humble guy, straight to the point. Basically said there's two before me. One passed away on the table, and the second one a hands failed. And, there's a chance you can die too. So right to the point with that.
Yeah.
That didn't really bother me.
It didn't. And what went through your head? What were you thinking? Were you like, yeah, let's do this?
Yeah, straight away. Once I met the guy, I was like, he's like, he didn't have that doctor ego a lot of them have. And that's like a big turn off for me if they had the doctor has that ego. And a lot of doctors around him don't have that ego, which I liked a lot.
Mm-hmm. And what did that procedure look like? I have no idea that, like, the implications. I'm sure there's a preparatory phase. I know there's a lot of times any type of a transplant, they talk about medications to allow the body to take the new tissue in and not attack that tissue. What kind of conversations happen pre and then post surgery?
Yeah, so pre-surgery, there's a bunch of testing for like close to a year of testing. Like they basically have to know the insides of your body and out before you get the transplant, see if you're eligible.
Mm-hmm.
And I passed, so I was eligible. They didn't really talk about pills with me. I also didn't ask about pills. I was more concerned about like all the tests and stuff because that's tiring. And then once I got the transplant afterwards, that's when they started telling me about all the medications I had to take, the side effects, all that stuff.
Then how did it go when you finally like signed up? Okay, we got a date. What was that experience like?
It went by pretty quickly because it took a year to find a donor, especially during COVID. And that was interesting, finding a donor during COVID because they had their, checklist. And I'm sure the donor couldn't have COVID either, because once you get the transplant, you're immune compromised.
Yep.
And then when I got the call, we went right to the city that night. And the next morning, I got the surgery.
Yeah. And what was the recovery process like?
The team around me I had was really good. It made it kind of pretty easy. It was painful. The nerve pain was pretty bad. That was the most challenging part, dealing with the nerve pain while trying to work out your hands. Because the nerve pain in your hands feel like cats clawing at your palms. So that's not fun when you had that pain feeling and then you had two OTs on the side of you stretching your fingers out and then trying to help you like do pinching motions, grabbing stuff. So that was like the big part. And then like the PT was kind of easy because that's like natural to me because I was a big gym rat before.
Yeah.
So, like, getting back to walking was kind of easy. And that was a good team too around me. Really good motivators there.
Incredible. And what's the level of functionality you've regained from the procedure till today?
It goes back and forth. Some days it's better than others. Right now, like today, it's kind of bad because I shoveled the drive yesterday. So right now they're kind of like stiff and painful. But yesterday they were pretty good. I was like doing stuff on my own. Last week they were really good all throughout the whole week. So like right now they're bad, but it's all situational. But like I honestly had a lot more function in the beginning because I was surrounded by a professional team and like a good like a hostile environment. So like I don't go outside. I don't go in there. Like as soon as I step outside, everything pops up. I get red. So when I'm in a controlled environment like in AC, I'm pretty like chilling out, and especially with like a team of OTs and nurses around me, my hands are like kind of like really really good. But then after I got out of the hospital, they kind of went downhill because you lose that support of the OTs around you all the time.
Of course.
And then like I do the best I can, but stretching my fingers out myself won't get the same results as the professional. that study the hands, because the hands are a whole nother level of like to do, and it's a very rare thing to find someone to do it too.
Yeah. And so, Jessica, where did you guys meet?
We met on Instagram. It was about 6 months after Joe had his transplant. Started following him. I think his account was private at that time. I had heard about his story. I was working as a transplant nurse at that time, and I was living in another state, but originally I'm from Southern California. So I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, and saw Joe's story, added him. We instantly started talking. I was visiting a friend in Philadelphia about 3 weeks later after that first internet interaction. And we met up in person. I went because I was in Philadelphia. Then that was like an hour and a half to Joe. So it was like a lot of driving. I actually drove from California to Philadelphia for nursing school. So like driving a distance wasn't really a big deal to me. So I drove to see Joe and we hit it off, spent a couple hours with him at his mom, his dad, our dogs met because I brought my dog with me. And it was just felt really natural, felt really comfortable. We had dinner that night and it just was really nice to meet Joe in person and we hit it off. Came back that next day before I left to Ohio, said bye to him. And we just stayed connected, FaceTiming, because at that time we were long distance for a few months. So then we eventually, since I was nursing, I wanted to do travel nursing. And I landed a contract in New York City like 6 months after I met Joe and opened up the possibility of moving in. I knew it was like we had just met in April and I think that right now is like September, and I was like, I got this job in New York City, so we found somewhere to stay in New Jersey. He was like, yeah, we'll move in together, and I'm 8 years older than Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So before he's 26, so I knew what I wanted, and I had a lot of fun in my 20s, got it all out of me, and Joe's young, so I didn't want to put that pressure on him. But I also knew he was a lot different than, at that time he was 24, right? You just turned 24. So I knew that he was more mature than most boys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Boys don't become men until they're almost 40. But
that is true.
I've
heard that.
Yeah, but Joe's different. He knew what he wanted. He's been through a lot. He had to spend a lot of time alone, and that changed him too. Joe was different, and he was sure about moving in, and yeah, we moved in together, started working as much as I could to start saving we wanted to buy a house. So I was doing more travel nurse contracts in New Jersey, landed a full-time job in New York City. So now I'm working full-time in New York City in the operating room as a nurse. We bought a house last September, and then we got married this past December. So house was 2023.
Yeah.
And then got married 2024. And so now we're just trying to save up and fix the house up because it's a fixer-upper. And yeah, just taking it day by day. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy, but we get through it together. And his parents are huge in our life too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Are they, and they're close to you guys?
Yeah, they're about 25 minutes.
Great. That's really beautiful. I mean, brought together by Instagram.
Yeah, and dogs.
and dogs.
They're Boston Terriers, so they're not as like they're not like a Frenchie that's super popular. They're just the Boston Terriers. I grew up with them. Joe grew up with them. My grandpa had one. His grandpa had a Boston Terrier. So it's just like a funny family dog. Like, I'm from California. He's from New Jersey. Like, we couldn't be any more different, right? In that regard, my family's super Southern California, and his parents are super Jersey, have the accent. So it's funny to see, because I grew up with my grandparents, to see their dynamic, texting each other. They're really cute together. So the families they bond really well. And yeah, we're just, taking it day by day, and we're newlyweds. So just getting our life started together.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And Joe, what drew you to Jessica when you guys first started chatting?
Her dog. I the first thing I said to her was, "I like your dog." Not even like a hey or like anything like this. I like your dog. I mean, she didn't have her dog, I wouldn't have messaged her basically, because I was getting a bunch of followers. When you're bored going through the world, just wrestling after workouts, you just go through your followers that are following you, and she popped up with with Kirkland, her Boston Terrier, and it's like, well, I gotta say, like your dog on this one.
Yeah. And then where to go from there? What was the magnetic spark that you said there's something here?
It was just a natural. It wasn't like the typical, like, oh, where are you from? How tall are you? What's your favorite car? Like, not like a 21 question kind of conversation. It was just like a natural flowing, like you just met at a bar kind of like chat. Like, it just sunk in.
Yeah.
It was easy. Like, it's like that kind of flow.
Yeah, I get it. And then Joe, so you've been through the transplant, everything you're working, it sounds like amazing that you were out shoveling snow the other day, even though today's a day where there's like a swing back in the pendulum, so you're sore. How are you spending your time today? Like, what do you do with life?
Well, today is just the resting day for because she has off this week. So Monday we're just gonna like chill out. A couple other more calls to do, like email stuff like that. So we're not gonna be driving today. So the car's in the driveway, just get in the sun, get all the snow melt off the car. But just massage my hands out today. Hopefully it'll be better tomorrow. Yeah, just drink a lot of water, get all the fluids out, like stuff like that.
And what about work, Joe? What do you do for work, for your vocation?
I can't work. I can't have like a typical 9 to 5 job. I can get admitted at any time. Like I can get admitted today if I really like have to, and like I can't call my employer like, hey, I gotta get admitted for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
or like a week or 2 weeks, and then I'll get fired instantly.
yeah,
Unless my doctor has like a speech, if my doctor has a job opening for like do speaking engagements, I would be up for that. But until then, like I would like to do like motivation speaking in the future. I do have a clothing brand that I have, but like other than that, it's just not a 9 to 5 job.
yeah. Well, I think so many people in the world today make their living in not a 9 to 5 job. I'm like all over the map as an entrepreneur. I'm like a little bit of podcasting, a little bit of consulting, a little bit of speaking, all the things. But I definitely don't check in on it. I mean, sometimes it feels like I work all the time. I don't know. Do you work on your clothing brand a lot? Does it take up a lot of time?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, Jessica does a lot of computer work on it, so that's most of the time for her.
Customer service.
The customer service department?
Yeah, it's been a process. So we didn't have anyone to really guide us through it. There's not really, this is how you do it sort of thing. We don't even know if we're still doing it right.
Yeah.
But that takes about a lot of time. Yeah, it's just starting a business is a lot of work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we just, right now we're looking for even like a tax person. We can't find someone in our area. So yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
And then he's writing a book right now too. Joe is working on it. He found a ghostwriter and they're tackling that chapter by chapter. So hopefully this year the book will come out. The clothing line helps support that. And then maybe motivational speaking for Joe in the near future with the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love writing. Do you enjoy the process with the ghostwriter, Joe?
I enjoy it with the ghostwriter, not alone though, because in high school I avoided writing class. I got like a D in writing class. I just did not like writing at all. I'm not a creative person. Straight to the point. It's just so having to write a book in the future is like, oh, I should have paid attention in school on this one.
Yeah, but most people have ghostwriters now anyways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like working with him is really nice. He makes it really easy.
Yeah.
And like it's easy to talk to him.
And he's like below the or above the knee amputee, so he's been through it too. He has his own challenges, and I think that brings Joe and him together too. Is that they could relate? They've lost something big.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty cool setup. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm excited. You have some working titles or no?
Oh yeah, 80% gone.
80% gone. And is that your clothing brand?
Yeah, it's all the clothing brand. It's all everything syncing together.
Yeah. And is there some meaning in that name related to the accident?
Yeah, because 80% of my skin is burnt off. So I was like, well, 80% of me is gone. So it kind of just lined up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's such an inspiring story, Joe and Jessica, and I'm really cheering you guys on. I got to ask, I browsed the website and some of the clothing, And what's your best seller so we can make a recommendation here on the store?
Probably like the hoodie, the black classic logo hoodie is what Shopify says is the number one seller. The tote bags, the tote bags are also a hit. So yeah, and the hats, people like the hats, but the classic logo seems to sell the most. And hopefully we can get more logos out there too.
Yeah, I like the classic logo. That's nice.
Yeah, it's like a phoenix, and then there's like a flame in there. There's a lot of it's very symbolic. The hair on the person is like Joe's hair. We had this guy, a graphic designer, work on it, and we sent him Joe's hair. I was like, can we please have the guy have Joe's hair? Because that's a big symbolic thing on Joe. You know, his hair. Yeah.
It's like a hidden symbol. It's like the FedEx logo, how there's an arrow in between like the X and the E. And so like I was like, let's put the hair in there. So like only a couple people like will point it out, but like not a lot of people recognize it.
Yeah, and the lion has a rose in its mouth, and for Joe's mom, her name is Rose. So that symbolism there. So hopefully we could get another logo. That would be cool. We just have to hit up that graphic designer to help us with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you find yourself, Joe, that a lot of people that have been through either serious accidents or transplants reach out to you through the Instagram account?
I have a lot more accidents, just like normal car accidents with like a fender bender, stuff like that. A couple burn people reach out to me. Not a lot of transplant people reach out to me actually, which I find interesting. A lot of like on like TikTok lives, I'll have like a handful, but nothing personal with the transplants.
They'll leave comments though.
Yeah.
Like, I had a transplant. Curious about if they're on the same medications.
Sure.
Yeah, people want to relate that way.
I get more like people with like autism, with like disability, like
mental
disabilities. And I think I never thought I'd be able to help people with that because I never been down that like rabbit hole of like researching that stuff up. So like I didn't know like people with autism have, like their hands don't work properly. Because my mom's friend's son has autism, and he's smart. Like, he wrote a book before me.
It's like a high functioning. Autism is a spectrum, but
yeah.
So I really think too much of like all that stuff. A lot of like, reach out to me about that kind of stuff.
My friend is he invents technology. He's an engineer, and he has a son with autism, and he always says, my son is not the scale of autism that wears a fancy hoodie and starts a tech startup in Silicon Valley. He's like, he's nonverbal, so it's a different scale. And albeit he's like, he still has the superpowers. For me, it makes like I see people's stories that are unfolding, and just the way people are able to show up with like grace and still smile and put things out into the world, even after life hands you a really difficult hand to deal with. I'm drawn to that. Like I was drawn to your Instagram account. I was like, oh, I want to talk to this guy. I want to hear his story. And I also I love the video of you pressing shirts. Is that your house?
Yeah,
that's the garage.
That's so cool. See, I mean, for me, like that is very much part of the American dream. And I just think it's really amazing. Well, I'm definitely going to buy a hoodie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We'll put the link in the show notes. I usually end the podcast with, I'd love to ask you both this question. It's called the Beautifully Broken Podcast. What does it mean to you to put the pieces back together? And what does it mean to you to be beautifully broken? Joe, do you want to go first with that question?
Yeah, I think it'll humble you going through an accident like I did. And it'll make you see life in a different aspect because I was like a kind of rushy kind of guy. Always had to get things done a certain way. And I think after being broken in the hospital, like now it's like, oh, I'll be patient now. I'll take my time doing things. I won't rush. Certain things can wait, And if you personally can't fix it, then just let it go because then you'll just go crazy trying to fix something you can't. But if you can't fix it, fix it.
Beautiful. Jessica, what would you add? Do you have anything that comes up to you, the idea of being beautifully broken?
I think that we're all broken, right? We've all been through something that changes us. Sometimes the pieces come back together and it looks like it was never broken. Sometimes the pieces don't come together and it's visible. You're visibly broken, right? Joe has these changes to him that he will always have scars. He has a face transplant. So, sometimes those scars are visible, sometimes they're not. So I think we should treat each other better and know just because you don't see that someone is broken doesn't mean that they were in the past. And your attitude has a lot to do with it. Getting better. When patients are in the hospital, they're sick, if they're down in the dumps and grumpy all the time, like that's not going to help you get better. Be beautiful, be strong, and also be humble and know that people are broken even if you don't see it.
Yeah, amen. I think that's such an amazing reminder. I know we all carry our baggage around inside of us, and it's like that analogy. It's like, if I'm walking around a busy airport and I got a cup of coffee and somebody bumps me, I'm going to spill coffee out. Same thing, if I've got a lot of hate and anger and rage and somebody bumps me, that's what spills out. That's what's inside. And it's this way of working with life, what it hands you, to try to cultivate, like, what's the miracle here? What's the miracle in this? And I really, truly do believe that. I celebrate you guys. I really appreciate you giving me the time to like talk and connect. I know I'm a stranger. It's a really nice platform, and we have a really great audience. So I'm excited for them to hear your story. And thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care of your house.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with season 9 of the podcast. We're about to crest into year 6. Can you believe it? I'm so glad you're still here. And I just wanted to remind you, if you like the show, please head over to Apple or Spotify and give us a 5-star review. It really expands the listenership. Now, there's one big way you can continue to learn and deepen the relationship that we started in this very episode. You can go to beautifully.broken.world and you can check out our brand new website and store. Listed are all the technologies, the supplements, the self-quantification, the products, everything that I love, I personally use, and I've curated for this audience. Most of the items have a significant discount just by using the link or our code, Beautifully Broken, all one word, and they do support the podcast through affiliations. Now, if you want to see the faces of our guests and you want to watch me unbox products and see reviews, you can go over to YouTube at Beautifully Broken World. Now, this next message is from my vast team of internet lawyers. The information on this podcast is for education. By listening, you agree not to use the information found here as medical advice to treat, diagnose, or cure any medical condition in yourself or others. Always consult your guiding physician for actual medical issues you may be having. Now, in my closing, we are truly in a paradigm shift. We need you at your very best. So use these conversations as a jumping off point for further exploration. Always listen to your own body. And remember, while life may be painful, how we put the pieces back together is a beautiful, beautiful process. I love you so much. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel.